are not employed. So we're going to make a map that will look similar to this. Okay, going back in Arcmap. So this one is what we call a polygon, and the polygon itself is not a map, it's just a polygon, and it doesn't make sense right now, but after we add and design and just modify it a bit, that's when it will become a map. So first we're going to right click the layer, the Key2 pop layer, then open attribute table. Okay, just moving the attribute table window. I prefer working on the data within the table when it's maximized. So there we have FID, shape, div name, total pop, and the total area. We can actually calculate the area on our own, but in this case the area is already provided. So what we have to understand here, the Chloropleth map that we're going to make today is going to represent the population density of Kitui. So for us to find population density, we have to take note that population density is just simply the number of people living in a given area per square kilometer. So we are considering the number of people and the area. So if we have to check for the formula, so population density formula. Okay, so population density formula, so it's the number of people over the area, and the area should be in square kilometers according to these sources. So let's go back, and we already have the area, so we're just going to create a new field. I'm being too fast because I am assuming that you were there when I was explaining how to use several features with Arcmap. And this is the add field, so we're going to add a new column for population density, and it's good practice to only abbreviate for long words. If it's short, it's fine, like area, total area is fine, but for a long word like population density, we abbreviate. But Arcmap sometimes can automatically do that, but it's just good if you do it in advance. And then no spaces. Spaces will give errors, but if you want a space in between, use an underscore and not space. So if I put space to throw an error, and then on the type we're going to use float because it's in between, not that accurate, and again not highly accurate and not again inaccurate. I explained in the other tutorial why we are choosing float, so I'll just assume you have watched other tutorials and have attended other lessons to understand why we're choosing float here. After that, the specified field name pop10 is invalid because it contains invalid characters. So like I said, no special characters, no spaces, so it will automatically change the name to pop_10. The precision and scale are only for advanced users, and you don't change anything there. So we have our new column, and then we want to calculate now the population density. And from the formula it says it's the number of people over the area in square kilometers. This area is already in square kilometers, so it's already calculated and provided along with other data. So we're just going to simply right click population density field. That's where we want our population density to be, and then just click yes. Then we're going to tell the software using structured query language what it's supposed to do. So he's saying population then is equal to, so we are going to get the number of people over the area. So the number of people is in this field, total population. We're just going to click on it until it appears. So it's total population over. Okay, I've made a mistake there. I can just use a backspace. Just one slash indicating that we're dividing total population over the total area. So you click on it until it appears, and pay attention. If you make a mistake, just go on clear and start all over again. Total population over total area. So once you have the formula, you just click OK, and our data will be populated in the population density field. So these are called fields, not columns. So wait for it. Alright, it's done. So it has calculated the population density. After this, we just close and we're back in the data view. So this one is called data view. And then we have the layout view. This is where we're going to design the map. So after this, there are two ways of opening layer properties. We'll open layer properties, just right click properties, or let's use this method, or you just double click the layer and it will open. So the tab that specifically we're going to use is a symbology tab. This is where we're going to tell the software what symbols it should use. In this case, we want it to use the graduation of color, which is the Chloropleth, to visualize the population density data. So we have other fields, we have definition, query, labels. Other tabs have different functions: time, selection, display, or you can change. And then don't mind the color. Arcmap will choose different colors on its own automatically. So on somebody else's PC, first time you add the data, it won't appear green, it might appear red, blue. You shouldn't worry about that. So let's go back to symbology, and specifically what we want to represent is a number, so it's under quantities. And there, so we have graduated colors, graduated symbols, potential symbols, and dot density. If you go back to our notes, we said that a Chloropleth looks like this. It's just a graduation of colors, and Arcmap is giving us ideas of what a graduated color map would look like, and basically we want something like this. And then here we have fields and values, normalization, classification, classes, different menus here, but specifically we'll focus on the value and the classes. So when you go on value, this is where we're going to tell Arcmap which value it should use, or which values should use from which field to make the Chloropleth map. So in this case, we are making a population density map, so meaning it should use pop as the field that contains the population density, and it should be a number value, so it should be a number. So only fields that have numbers will appear here. And then for the normalization, you can leave it the way it is. And then we have classes. This is where we choose categories of numbers, like the way you do it in biometry. So if we have numbers 1 to 10, and these have to be put in groups in order to accommodate most of them. So it's much easier for the application to actually display the difference in these numbers as a color. So we have several number of classes, and there's no fixed number. You can choose any number according to your preference. So let's choose 1. let's see what happens. So from the definition of the Chloropleth, it uses color to represent or visualize data. So the interpretation of this map would be that every region has the same population density, the same number of people living in that area, which is incorrect. So when we put one class, it's basically just telling Arcmap to visualize everything as one color. And then when we put 2, it just simply gets the lowest and the highest number, puts them into 2 colors. And if we apply the map, you'll see a change in the map. And if you have seen this dark region here, from the interpretation that somebody can obtain from this map, is that this darkest region here is the area that has the highest population density, which is true, but these other areas have the same, which is not accurate and false. So we can conclude that as we are increasing the number of classes, the more detail we have. So now we are able to see other areas that they are not the same. And if we continue increasing this number of classes, eventually we'll have more detail. So there's a limit, like in each data will have its own limit. So for example, here we have 32 classes as the limit, and again it's all about the accuracy. So the more we increase the number of classes, the more we're capable to visualize the differences in particular places. If we use 10, you see that certain places will appear to have the same population density, but when we increase, that's when we truly are capable of verifying that these other places don't really have the same population density, just that they are falling in the same class with the other ones, that making them to appear as if they have the same. So when we increase, that's when we have more detail of these values. So if you're 15, 16, okay, so there's a limitation to or like I said, accuracy. So the maximum so far is 15, and we can't exceed that. So meaning 15 divisions, 15 classes of numbers. So this is the highest accuracy we can achieve to represent the population density of different places. So after we're done and making sure each time as we change these values to see the effect, we apply. And once you're done, you go to a layout view. So layout view, you can simply just access these between data view and layout view, and take note, we have a hand. A cursor appears to be as a hand, and if you want to zoom in, or let me say zoom out, you click on this zoom out icon and then go back to the polygon, reduce, or you go to the zoom in, and then you click according to your preference. But in a case where you accidentally zoomed in and you're no longer able to see where this polygon is, just go here, right click, and click on the layer, and then go to zoom to layer, and now we have it back. So just go back to data view. Like I said, I'm assuming a lot of these things you already know them because you attended previous lessons or you watched previous tutorial videos. Okay, so we are in layout view. So we have a polygon is now visible here in layout view. But if I don't really like the position of this polygon, I can actually change that. So if I go back in data view, move it, then I go back to layout view, it moves, but that one would take time and so unprofessional. So there's an easier way of doing things. So first thing that you have to understand, this frame around the polygon is called a data frame. And then when you have selected the data frame, you see blue squares appear around it, and this indicates that you have actually selected the data frame, and whatever action you're going to take will only affect the data frame. So when I right click any part, it won't affect the polygon, but it will affect the data frame. So everything that's here from delete, copy, cut will only affect the data frame. So to affect or move what's inside, I have to change the function of this cursor. So even if I tried, the only thing that will move is the data frame and not the polygon inside. So you have to pay attention. When we're working in layer view, we use the select elements cursor. So this one will enable us to move the data frame and make several steps, or we can take actions only limited to the data frame. But when we switch to these other tools, maximize, minimize, if you remember when we're in data view, we use these, the hand to move the map, to move the polygon, and the magnifying glasses to reduce or increase the size of the polygon. But it works differently here. These will only have effect on what's inside the data frame. So when I switch to the pan, that's when I'll be able to move the map inside and not move the data frame. But when I switch to select elements, I'll move the data frame. So there's a difference there. And make sure your data frame, there's space around your data frame. So we have properties, underline, go align to margins, and align center, and it automatically moves the data frame to the center. And then you don't need to resize the data frame for things to fit, you just need to reduce the polygon inside the data frame. So in this case, I can just go on the zoom out, and there the polygon is reduced. I don't like the size. Okay, so after that, maybe a little bit closer. Oh. Right. Zoom in. Very nice. Okay, there. So once I'm done, I have to use the hand. I don't like position. Okay. I think this is just fine. Yeah, this is just fine. And then when I'm done moving or manipulating the data inside the data frame, I have to make sure I've gone back to select elements. After doing that, you have to go back to select elements and not the hand. So as long as you're seeing the hand and you're done manipulating the data inside, go back to the select elements cursor. Then after that, you can insert the title. Alright, so we have our title, but I don't like the font, it's not that strong. So you just right click using the right click button on your right hand side with your touchpad. So go on properties, and where it says change symbol, go to area black. Yeah, so I can even change the size, but I'm okay with the size. And after that, apply. Okay, so something like that, much better. It's even in bold. Then after that, you have to insert the title. What else? You already inserted the title, legend. The legend is just something that will show what the colors mean. So there are several adjustments you can make, but the default values are okay. So there we have our legend. Like I said, make sure